What if the fastest way to build the right thing is to build the wrong thing first, just enough to see where it lands? You've been there. A new feature lands on your team's plate, and someone says, let's design everything before we write a single line of code. So you spend weeks in architecture documents, debating every edge case, mapping every integration point. You draw boxes and arrows, you write specifications. It feels productive, it feels safe. But when you finally start building, reality hits. The database doesn't behave like the diagram suggested. The third-party API has rate limits you didn't anticipate. The UI framework fights your assumptions. Weeks of design and you're still guessing. And here's the worst part. When the design finally meets reality, the feedback comes weeks or months too late. By then, changing direction is expensive. The team has already committed to an architecture that might not fit. There's a concept from warfare that solves exactly this problem: tracer bullets. Tracer bullets glow as they fly, so a soldier can see the path each round takes and adjust aim in real time. Fire, observe where it lands, adjust, fire again. Each shot teaches you something the previous one didn't. In software, we use the same idea. Instead of designing every layer in isolation, you build a thin end-to-end slice that touches every critical layer of your system. The user interface, the business logic, the data persistence, and any external integrations, all connected, all running. It's incomplete. Nothing is fully polished. There are no loading states, no error handling, no animations. But it's production-shaped code that actually runs from one end of your system to the other. And here's what makes tracer code fundamentally different from a prototype. Tracer code is not thrown away. It becomes the living skeleton of your system. Every subsequent feature builds on that skeleton. You learn the true architecture by using it, by watching data flow through it, not by writing about it in a design document that nobody reads. The skeleton reveals what diagrams can't, which layers are harder to connect than you expected, where the real complexity lives, and which assumptions about your system were simply wrong. Picture this. Your team needs to build a checkout flow for an e-commerce app. The traditional approach would be to design the UI, then build the front end, then build the API, then set up the database, each in sequence. Instead, you wire a walking skeleton. One button on a blank page calls an API endpoint, which writes a record to the database, which returns a confirmation. Ugly, minimal, but every layer is connected. It's ugly. There's no styling, no form validation, no loading spinner. But it's alive. You can watch a request travel from the browser to the database and back. You can see what breaks, what's slow, and what surprises you. Now you deploy that skeleton to a real environment, not a local mock, a real server. And suddenly you're not speculating anymore. You're measuring real integration risk, real network latency, real failure modes. Maybe you discover that the payment gateway takes 3 seconds to respond. That's not a guess anymore. It's a measured fact, and now you know you need to plan for it. Or maybe you learn that your database connection pool is too small under real load, or that your authentication flow has a race condition you'd never catch in a local test. Some teams confuse tracer bullets with prototyping. Here's the key difference. A prototype answers a question and gets discarded. It's exploratory. Tracer code answers the same question but stays and grows into your production system. Others think tracer bullets mean skipping design entirely. That's not true. You design just enough to start firing, enough to connect the layers and get something running. Then you let real feedback guide where you aim next. And some senior engineers worry that writing incomplete code sets a bad precedent. But tracer code isn't sloppy code. It's minimal code, well-structured, with clear extension points where future features will slot in. Big design up front spends weeks planning before anything runs. Tracer bullets start running immediately and refine with every shot. One approach hopes it hits the target. The other watches where each shot lands and adjusts. So here's your next step. Take your next feature and wire a walking skeleton through all layers first: the UI, the logic, the data, and any external integrations. Deploy it to a real environment before you flesh out the user experience. Don't wait for it to be pretty. Get it running and learn from it. Then measure what that skeleton taught you. What surprised you about integration? What was slower than expected? What broke in ways you didn't predict? Feedback from a living path beats speculation from a perfect plan. Stop planning in the dark, start firing tracer bullets. Your first shot will show you exactly where to aim next.